is probably an indication that we're still in A minor. Welcome back to Composition and its Allies. My name is Barney. I'm a classical composer, and this is a channel for composers as well as performers that are interested in composition. French harmony exercises is for anyone who wants to go back to basics and learn just proper harmony hands-on. You may be coming from an American tradition or some other tradition where it's very intellectual, and you may have been shocked to realize it did not prepare you for orchestration, it did not prepare you for fugue. I myself, I had to move to Paris, France, and I stayed there for 5 years to learn real harmony with actual French masters. And in this series, I'm going to be showing you the beauty of the French tradition. Let's begin. First, we're going to focus on cadences. So in order to effectively do these exercises, you're going to have to target all of the cadences, get them figured out. Otherwise, there's always going to be a lot of doubt. You're not going to be sure which key you're in, and the phrases in between are going to be inaccurate. So you have to spend a disproportionate amount of time just focusing on those cadences. Is going to be really painful, but it's a good type of pain because it's going to be training your ear to start hearing and thinking harmonically. So the absolute first step I'm going to have to do is I'm going to have to copy down the exercise correctly, okay? This is non-negotiable. It must be done by hand. Harmony exercises in the French style, they have to be done by hand. If you were to go to France right now and you were to say, I'm doing, no, it's absolutely unacceptable. Now, if you truly have a physical ailment, then, you have to do the best you can. But otherwise, it has to be done by hand because that's how you're going to actually be hearing much more accurately. And you'll find in the long run, it's much quicker to do these exercises by hand than fiddling around on the computer and polluting your inner ear. All right, all done. So that took me about 4 minutes to accurately copy down the exercise. That's about 15 measures. That's actually not bad. Part of it's because I do know the exercise. I did write the exercise, I composed the exercise, but nevertheless, notice I had to keep verifying because I don't want to lose time. So this is a soprano exercise. It's going to modulate. We're in season 2 of How to Voice Reposition Chords. And when it modulates, there may be sections where it seems fine if you have a mistake and you may be able to realize it. But then when we go to talk about it and talk about the correct answer, your answer are completely void. So I remember when I was a student, I was like, if I had a mistake, especially in the counterpoint exercise, right? You show your teacher and you're like, there's a fundamental mistake, let's say in the what do you call it, the canis firmus. But a good teacher say, what can I do? I can't even look at the parts that you think are good because the test is, can you find a consistent line that works from start to finish under those conditions? So that is what you have to copy the exercise on by hand. Has been very, very accurately. Notice that we have fermatas in here, which are indicating the form, the cadences, which we'll be talking about, as well as a ritardando at the end, which will help influence your decision-making process when you get to realizing the exercise. Also, I have measure numbers, okay, because you want to be organized. None of these details are just like a waste of time. This is the best value, the best use of your time. Take the time to do this accurately. All right, now what I want to do is I want to sing the exercise, okay? So don't be so impulsive when you're doing the exercise. You just want to start writing. That's the writing is a reaction to hearing already, okay? So the hearing happens first internally, and then you start writing. It's not the other way around. Maybe, I don't know how it would be, okay? So we're going to sing the exercise. This is, if you talk to any harmony teacher in France, they're going to say, il faut chanter, il faut chanter, il faut chanter. Okay, il faut chanter lentement, il faut chanter vite, okay, il faut chanter. Okay, basically, you have to sing and you have to sing at different tempos, okay? Do, si, do, re, si, la, re, si, do. Do, si, do, fa, e, mi. Mi, re, do, si, la, sol, fa, mi, fa, sol, la, re, si, do. Do, re, si, do. Fa, re, si, la, re, si. Do, si, do, re, si, la, la, sol, la. And when you sing, you start to hear the harmonic potential. Now let me sing a little bit slower, okay? Do, si, do, re, si. I mean, that has to be a half cadence. There's just no way around it, right? La, re, si, do. Okay? This is why you need to sing, okay? Because singing is actually hearing, okay, when it comes to harmony, also fugue, maybe orchestration. All right, so notice the ending. Do, si, do, re, si, la, la, sol, la. Oh my goodness, this is an A minor. It has to be an A minor, right? These exercises, it's one global key. Yes, there's going to be modulations, but you have to go to the ending to know for sure. So the thing with the French harmony exercises, we're training you to, especially for fugue, and or for orchestration, to hear harmonically, but also to hear all these kinds of modulations, okay? And so they might try to trick you. It's not really a trick. It's just a reality is that it will sound like it's in a different key. That's not. So one of the dangers when you do not have proper training in harmony is you're thinking melodically. So if we listen melodically, do, si, do, re, si, ra, re, si, do, right? It sounds like in C major. Do, si, do, re, fa, re, mi, re, do, si, do, re, si, do. So much of it sounds like it's in C major because we're thinking melodically. However, the ending is the final proof. It's not in C major. Certainly, it probably definitely goes, spoiler alert, does go to C major, but it is not an exercise in C major. It has to be understood in reference to A minor because of the ending. So therefore, the first note of the exercise I'm just going to put in right now, it's going to be an A, and the last note of the exercise, I'm going to put an A as well. This is like kind of non-negotiable. Now, how did I choose the correct octave? Well, you won't know until the end, but probably at the beginning of the exercise, the bass is going to be a more medium register, and at the end of the exercise, it's going to end in the lower register, but you always have to be a little bit flexible that you may have to update it, but here, it seems like a pretty safe bet. All right, so now we want to get the cadences, and what are the cadences? The cadences are kind of the breaks in between phrases, okay? They mark the phrases, they mark the form, right? If you study Bach chorales, he has the fermata at the end of the, that's where the cadence is, okay? And by the way, if you need help with cadences, I have a tutorial on my website that you can always check out for free. All right, so let's get phrase 1. So we have do, si, do, re, si, la, re, si, do. Okay, so notice that do, si, do, re, si, la. Notice that the soprano line does a B to an A. If we're in C major, the B is the leading tone. It has to go up to the tonic, especially in the soprano. Maybe in the middle of voice, we won't notice as much. It won't be as egregious. But in the soprano, think about the tension that's attached to the leading tone. Okay, it's really strong. So if you lower the, in French we say abaisser, si on baisse la sensible. Okay, if you lower afterwards, rather, if you go after. You go from the leading tone, you go down, you're really depleting, it's a really disappointing effect. It's a really, can be really mediocre effect, okay? Because this is tonal music and we want that leading tone to rise with the tonic. So the fact that this exercise, it is not descending, it's descending instead of going up to the tonic, is a really clear indication we're not in C major. This becomes important, of course, once you go on to fugue and you want to, harmonize your fugue. But make sure when you go on to do real composition, like real orchestration in your style, real fugue in your style, don't try to mix harmony. That's the hard part, because then you get something that's safe. And the whole point of this training is to get a harmonic ear, so then you have crazy, amazing music. So you got to be careful not to try to apply it, because then you'll misapply it and it's not going to sound good. So, do, si, do, re, si, la. Okay, so that is clearly indication that we're in A minor. And we have si, la. And so that B to A, first of all, that B for me, si. Notice how that feeling of a pause, it has to be a dominant, okay? So I'm going to put the bass. And something I forgot to do is to put the key, so it's super clear, as well as the Roman numerals, which I'm going to do right now. And make sure that you put, even though we don't have the leading tone yet written out, that for 5 in minor, you're going to have to put indicate the leading tone. Okay, we have the 5, and then what I'm going to do after a 5, always try to go for a deceptive cadence, okay? And it works quite nicely. Okay, next we have another clue. Do, si, do, re, si, la, re, si, do. Notice that we have a leap from an A to a D. Okay, and we talked about how prior we were thinking melodically and oh, it sounds like it's C major. Hey, be careful. Do, si, do, re, si, la, re, si. La, re, A, D are the principal notes in A minor, right? So the principal degrees in A minor are going to be 1, 4, and 5, okay? A, D, and E. So the fact that we're having these leaps here, I mean, in theory, it can be harmonized different ways. And as you get more sophisticated, you will have exercises where they're trying to get you to harmonize in other different ways. But the fact that we have this leap of a fourth on the principal notes of A minor is probably an indication that we're still in A minor. Okay? Do, si, do, re, si, la, re, si, do. Okay? So therefore, I'm going to get this ending cadence. I'm not going to think in C major, but I'm going to think in A minor. Another thing to keep in mind is that si, do, that's going to be a perfect authentic cadence. So again, you can watch the full short tutorial I have on the perfect authentic cadence. In an exercise, if you have a perfect authentic cadence, it kills the piece. Now, we're in A minor, so we definitely cannot have a perfect authentic cadence in A minor until the end, we get to the ending of the piece, because otherwise the piece is over. If we're going to C major, you can have a perfect authentic cadence to help mark the form, but usually it's going to be over and we go back to A minor or whatever key we go to next. Okay, so here, si, do, it makes more sense that we're going to be in A minor. Okay, so notice that we have si, do, and we have mi, la in the bass, so that means it's an imperfect authentic cadence. Don't forget that a perfect authentic cadence is going to kill the piece, okay, but imperfect authentic cadence is going to continue the piece. I hope that you found this useful and that you start doing the exercises. You can find them on my website as well as on a community I have on School, which is a learning platform. Thank you so much for watching. Have a great day. I could see why you could think C major. I could see why you could do A minor. If I do C major, sol, do, I think it's going to be a little bit difficult to realize because notice that we're leaping up to the F, okay, afterwards. So we're going to a 4, but this is